A Ferguson protester allegedly committed suicide in the back of a vehicle while two females were in the car with him. This is Edward Crawford, and he was actually the subject of an iconic photo during the Ferguson protests. This is a photo of him throwing a tear gas canister, and he had claimed later that the reason why he threw it was because cops had thrown it toward the protesters, and he was trying to throw it away from them so no one would get hurt. The St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department told NBC News that Crawford shot himself in the backseat of a car while it was moving. That's according to two female witnesses who were seated in the front of the car. The victim began expressing he was distraught over personal matters to the witnesses. The witnesses heard the victim rummaging in the backseat, then heard a gunshot and observed the victim had sustained a gunshot wound to his head. Now, his father says, look, he was a happy guy. He had just secured a new job. He has 4 kids. Everything was going well. I don't believe it was a suicide. Now, he doesn't think that there was any foul play. He thinks that it was accidental, that he might have accidentally shot himself. But what is interesting about this story is that it follows a very similar pattern involving the deaths of other individuals in the same area over the last couple of years. Okay, so this is the St. Louis area. And just to give you a few examples, in November of 2014, 20-year-old DeAndre Joshua was found shot in the head with severe burns after being lit on fire. Joshua was discovered dead in his own car. Also in September of 2016, the body of Ferguson activist Darren Seals was discovered inside a burning car. Seals had been shot and police declared the death a homicide. Elite Daily also listed a total of 7 deaths in the St. Louis area that happened in a similar way. It was in cars. In the vast majority of cases, the cars had been, or the bodies had been burned, or the car had been set on fire. And look, it seems suspicious, but we don't have any type of evidence indicating that there's, one person or a group of people doing this to a specific demographic. We just know that there's a lot of similarities, there seems to be a pattern, and it's suspicious.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. I don't even have a theory, but yeah. I do know that it is a weird mystery because look, 3 guys involved in the Ferguson protests wind up dying. They're all young. That's already weird, but maybe it's not that big a community. If it's Chicago, you say, okay, I mean, 3 people in a big city, that could totally happen, right? Okay, but 2 of them get shot and burned in their car. God, that is so specific. That's 2 years apart, by the way. One of them on the night that they said that the officer was, the night the officer was acquitted and found not guilty of shooting Mike Brown. So it's just, I don't know anything more than it is super weird. Now the 3rd person dies. And I want to say one more thing about the picture, the iconic picture. This picture was so iconic, it won a Pulitzer Prize, and he's got, this is, like sometimes as Ben says, pictures lie. And this both is it worth 1,000 words and lies at the same time. So a lot of right-wingers use this picture like, oh, you see that? He's like throwing like a Molotov cocktail at the cops. In reality, no, that was a tear gas canister that the cops had fired at the protesters, and he didn't want to have the kids around there get harmed, so he actually put himself in peril to grab the burning canister and throw it away from the kids. Right. The cops were really far away. He said, I couldn't throw a baseball that far, let alone a burning gas canister, right? So, and the local people there, including state senators, call him a hero for throwing that gas canister away from the people who were protesting in the area, including kids. And he's wearing an American flag T-shirt. I mean, it does tell you the story of misunderstandings in America. Yeah. Where some people look at the picture and see a dangerous guy who's attacking the cops. But if you actually find out the real story, it's actually a guy who was protecting the community. Right. And it was right or wrong, the cops who'd fired that tear gas canister in the first place right next to them.
Right, look, it's a great photo, and you don't see a whole picture when you look at that picture. You don't see where the cops are, you don't see how far away the cops are, and so people can look at that and they can have varying perspectives based on what their internal biases are. And that's a perfect example. This picture is a perfect example of that, how depending on your ideology, you'll look at a picture and you'll interpret it completely different from others.
Yeah, but either way, unfortunately, Edward Crawford now deceased. Third protester in that area killed in the last 3 years in under strange circumstances. So, but we don't yet know the whole story.
Podcast The Young Turks anytime you want. tytnetwork.com/join.
I think it's weird.
No, it's not weird. In fact, you'll think,
I'm like a smart person.
do it now. tytnetwork.com/join.